Hey, friends. All right. So today I'm going to share with you the 6 childhood wounds that keep you stuck in your life, in your business, and lead to a sabotage, not only a sabotage of your joy, but also a sabotage of your wealth and what you have the potential to create. And then I'm going to take you through a behind the scenes of what I focus on when I'm working with clients to unbind their power, to activate their potency, and to essentially unleash their receiving reality. And then in the next 2 weeks, I'm actually going to literally walk you through the process of reestablishing safety in your body and restoring, repairing the flow by making everything within you that is wounded and struggling come back into a place of wholeness and of sovereignty. So before I get fully into this training, you know the drill. I'm going to introduce myself in case there's anyone here who's new. Hey, I'm Ilsa. I'm a total spiritual nerd. I'm a bookworm. I love animals. I love nature. When I'm not working with clients or on my business doing this kind of stuff, you will usually find me either out in nature, walking, hiking, playing with my dogs, or reading, or a combination of all three. Professionally, for the last 20 plus years, I've worked as a psychotherapist, an expansion expert, and a strategist. I marry nervous system expansion work, body calibration work with identity work, as well as with simple strategies to help leaders, business owners tame the chaos, both internal chaos and external chaos, and essentially to help them move past any kind of barriers that's keeping them small, keeping them stuck, and keeping their income capped. If you would like to experience a deep level of expansion personally, professionally, financially in 2025, and you would like to create new levels of authenticity, visibility, money from this place of like unwavering safety, capacity, and sovereignty, then I want to invite you to join my program, the Quantum Expansion Experience. So the Quantum Expansion Experience is open for enrollment right now. It's at an amazing price. And on December 18th, enrollment will close for a while as I'm onboarding new clients, and then the price will go up for the new year. So if you are interested in even just checking out the details of that, I have put together a really simple Google Doc for you. The link to that is in the description of this training. All right, so let's get started. So here's the truth. You were born free, open, unguarded, confident, completely capable, and more than likely, as a young child, you had this sense of greatness inside you. You fully expected to receive and achieve great things. And then for most of us, something happened. Life happened. Through wounding and conditioning, we were taught to armor, to close, to get small, to stay quiet. We were taught to stop expecting such big things out of fear of being hurt, being disappointed, being judged by others, humiliated by others, and rejected. And so a huge amount, like we don't realize, like obviously I work with a lot of leaders and a lot of entrepreneurs, but we don't realize how much of how we show up in the world as an adult. And that's true in your intimate relationships. It's true in how you take care of your body. It's true in how you show up in your business. Like, we just don't realize how much of who we are and how we show up is actually a ripple and is fully influenced by wounds of childhood. So a huge amount of the work I do with clients, before we're really even focusing on expansive growth or strategies, a lot of the work is actually helping my clients rewire their nervous system, their bodies, their identity to be free of what has been, to be free of what was, of the wounds of the past, so that they can feel safe and be available to welcome what's possible for them. Because for most of us, we are either serving the past or we are serving what's possible. Everything about who we are, how we're showing up, the actions we're taking is either in service and in honoring of some kind of limitation in the past, or it's in service and in honoring to the expansion that is possible in the future. And it really is our job to see who and where we're operating from and what is it that we're creating. Are we recreating the past, or are we creating something brand new and stepping into possibilities? So when your nervous system is stuck in your wounded child self and you are identified with an old wound and you're operating and making decisions from that wounded child, you are automatically in contraction and in limitation. And as you know, you can't create expansion or receive when your nervous system is in that place of contraction. Contraction will never lead to expansion, just like making decision and choices and taking action from scarcity, from lack, will never lead to abundance. So for a lot of us, we have to realize that even though the way we're showing up feels like us, we're actually operating from a much smaller lens than we have access to. So we're seeing the world through a construct that's been created through our childhood experiences. But what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, both how we're seeing ourselves, how we're seeing the world, how we're seeing what's possible, is not the actual truth. It's a construct. It's a limited view. And unfortunately, when a construct is felt and when it's expected, like, we literally don't realize it's a construct, we see it as reality, so we expect things to show up that way, then a construct, when expected, when felt, becomes a contract. It becomes the rules by which we live and the reality we create. Let me say that again. Unfortunately, for most of us, we're not living in the truth of what's possible. We are living, seeing ourselves, seeing the world, seeing what's possible through a construct. And when that construct feels real and when we expect it, then it becomes a contract. It becomes the rules by which we live and the reality we create. So our big work is to deconstruct the construct, deconstruct the contractions that have created that construct, the wounding, so that we can move in and through the world and create from wholeness and sovereignty rather than woundedness and smallness. So here's my invitation to you. As I take you through those main childhood wounds and how they show up in your life, in your business, and how they limit your ability to truly feel safe being you, feel safe expressing yourself authentically, feel safe achieving and receiving what you want. I want to invite you to actually listen with like an inquiry. Like, ask yourself as you're listening to me describe these different wounds, do I have that? Even just a little. And where and how is it showing up in my life or in my business? So the invitation here is to don't just turn this training into content, more information to collect. Don't be a consumer, be a creator. Turn this training into literally a self-discovery workshop. And then where you're literally discovering what's true for you and what's not, what's really holding you back and what's not. And then I will show you how to heal and free yourself from those in the next couple weeks. So there's a lot of childhood wounds, obviously, but these are the most common childhood wounds that come back over and over that will hold you back from creating the impact, the income that you desire. They will hold you back from having joy and ease and peace in your life. And you might see that some of them are kind of intertwined. And you might realize that you have a number of them. So here's what I want to say to you. Don't feel bad. Most of us do. I have literally worked on every single one of those wounds in myself. I have held all of them. So you're in good company. Okay, welcome to being human. And here's the good news, especially if you're a leader or a business owner, your purpose, what you do and put out into the world will bring forward all these wounds so that they can be made whole and they can be shifted into sovereignty, safety, potential, and power. All right, so first wound is the powerless wound. Here, there's a sense that things are done to me and that I have no power to change them, that I am at the mercy of forces bigger than myself. And there's a felt sense of being powerless and feeling powerless, which as a child is a very real thing, right? Like, as children, we are at the mercy of the adults in our lives. And a lot of the time, our level of power is pretty limited. But this turns into a real wound when we feel truly dismissed, like our needs are dismissed, our desires are dismissed, when we feel put upon or even victimized by a force, something, someone bigger than us, and we feel like we truly have no voice, no choice, and no power. This wound can also show up in circumstances or an environment where defying authority was dangerous. So if you had a somewhat violent family member, and if you dared to speak up or to want to do something different, you got in a lot of trouble. So from that perspective, that can show up this sense of, I don't have a right, it's not safe for me to have a voice, and I am completely powerless to change my circumstance. So when we have circumstances like that, it literally gets ingrained in our bodies. And it starts to become our paradigm, our identity, a real sense of our perception. And it becomes a reality that we carry into adulthood. This sense that as an adult, even though we are now much bigger, that sense that we are powerless to change or to control our lives, our happiness, our success, kind of stays there with us. The main emotion that you're going to find in this wounds is blame. Like oftentimes, people who feel powerless will blame other people and feeling like a victim, feeling victimized and put upon by the world. So, some example of thoughts or patterns, especially in business, that you will find is kind of putting whatever circumstance we're experiencing right now on other people. Like, no one's got money right now, so they're not buying. COVID ruined my life, or this coach or this mentor ruined my life or led me astray. It's a sense that it's always somebody's fault and there's nothing you can do to shift it. So sometimes I will say, like, it's the sense that you could do everything right and not get a cookie in the end. Now, one of the most powerful ways to shift that, I will go into next week, is actually the power of permission, because it puts everything back into your own experience. So that's the first wound of childhood, feeling powerless, the powerless wound. The second, the second really common one is the rejection and abandonment wound. And you could say they're two separate ones. I kind of put them together because they feel and look the same in some way. But obviously, this is relatively self-explanatory. It shows up when we've experienced bullying and feeling rejected by other kids. It shows up when we've lost a loved one or even a pet in childhood, or when we have felt abandoned through a divorce, or even by a babysitter that left or disappeared quite suddenly. This abandonment and rejection wound can show up when you've had to move schools, or your best friend moved and you lost sight of them. Like a sense of loss. There's a sense of loss here, and there's a sense of feeling abandoned and rejected by life or by someone else that goes along with this sense of loss. And so when that gets ingrained into our bodies, there is like this fear of rejection that shows up, where we will shy away from any kind of circumstances where we could either feel denied or rejected or excluded, or we could feel abandoned by what we want. So there's a decision that we're better alone. We don't ask for support. I definitely have that one where we have a hard time asking for support or receiving support, hard time being vulnerable. And sometimes it can even be in here almost a sense of like, better not to get your hopes up. So we kind of tend to disengage from life and kind of brace ourselves or ready ourselves for negative outcomes. So the most common emotion with this rejection and abandonment wound is loneliness, a felt sense of not belonging, feeling unsupported by life or by others. And oftentimes there is some unprocessed grief that is still there in the body. And it can also show up as somebody who's a little pessimistic because they don't want to be hurt again. They don't want to be disappointed again. What that can look like in business is a sense of like almost getting ready or having in the back of your mind, what if I don't meet my goal? What if no one buys? No one will pay me that much. This sense of rejection, people don't want what I have. That can also lead to, as a way of protecting ourselves, we're not reaching out to people, we're not selling, we're not inviting people to work with us, we're not networking, we're essentially we're not investing in support, we're trying to do it all on our own, and in a way that's a little disconnected or a little disengaged. So that's the abandonment and rejection wound. The third common wound is unlovable wound. And so there's two of them. There's the unlovable wound, and then the other one is the unworthy wound, the I don't matter, I'm not important wound. And they're similar. So they're going to go right after the other. But in the unlovable wound, you will often find that with kids who had unavailable, narcissistic, self serving, maybe even abusive parents or caretakers, or even a teacher who was mean. Essentially, someone they looked up to that made them feel like less than. This wound can also come from being bullied or being rejected by kids our own age, where we felt unwanted, unlovable, unlikable, and essentially like the world did not see us or want us. So in the abandonment and rejection wound that we just talked about, the sense here is that the world feels like the problem. Like people are leaving, people are rejecting us. In this wound, in the unlovable wound, we feel like we're the problem. So in the last wound, the world is the problem. In this wound, it's us that's lacking. It's us that's not working correctly. It's us that's damaged. And the world is turning against us or doesn't want us because there's something wrong with us. So a big emotion here is shame, a sense of feeling unwanted, unappreciated, inadequate, like we don't feel like we're enough in some ways. And there can also be edges of not belonging in here as well. Some of the common thoughts, some of the ways this shows up, especially in business, people don't want me. They don't want what I have to offer. There's something wrong with me that I don't want people to find out, because if they really knew who I was, if they really knew this about me, they would never want to work with me. So that's the unlovable wound. Inadequacy is in there. The next wound, which is similar, is the unworthy wound. And here there's a real sense of I don't matter, what I want and who I am is not important. Like we really minimize our impact in the world. So this is another flavor of the unlovable wound, and it comes oftentimes from similar roots, like having felt dismissed, invisible, unimportant in your family of origin, having felt ignored. So there's less maybe of a sense of abuse or neglect, or having a parent that was completely narcissistic or had an issue there. But maybe here, either a parent that's really busy, maybe a parent that's a little self-centered, maybe, or working too much. Maybe here you could see that in families where there's a lot of kids, so the parent was overwhelmed. You can also see that in families where maybe there was somebody in the family that had a major issue, an alcoholic father that everybody was managing around, another sick child that everybody was managing around. But essentially what this wound comes from a feeling that I'm invisible and there's no space for me. There's no space for my needs, and there's no space for my wants. It almost, like I had a client say to me once, I used to think maybe everybody would be better off if I just went away. Or I wonder if people would even notice if I wasn't there anymore. So the main emotion here is a sense of feeling small, invisible, unappreciated. It can even turn into a little bit of apathy, like we start to not care and we start to be like completely independent and not try to connect. In this wound as well, there's a feeling of always having to prove or improve yourself all the time. And on occasion, there can be a little shame there, but that's more in the unlovable wound. Now, how does that show up in business? Imposter syndrome is really big there. A sense of like, who am I to teach this? Uh, Always comparing yourself to others in your industry and always finding yourself lacking. Like other people are better, prettier, more professional, more ready, have more experience. A sense that your work is not all that special, like almost like diminishing your own value and diminishing what you could provide because you feel like a fraud. So you're oftentimes diminishing yourself, undercharging, and overgiving because you're overcompensating for that sense that you're not enough. There can also be, I don't know if I said this already, but there can also be a sense in business here of never feeling quite ready. Oh, when I have this certification, when I learn to do this, when I have lost weight, when I have mastered this, or I'm through this issue that I have, or this block that I have. It's almost like you're always pushing it and you never feel quite ready or quite perfect enough to serve. So that is the unworthy wound. The next wound is it's not safe to be me. So the main emotion here is fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being criticized, fear of being even attacked or humiliated or betrayed or taken advantage of for being who you are. Oftentimes, this wound comes from some kind of shame and some kind of guilt that was created in childhood through being teased, humiliation, being called out, or even at the higher level, being attacked, bullied, or assaulted as a child or a teenager for being who you are. And so I'm going to give you a couple simple examples. One of them that I remember from my childhood is writing a letter to Santa. And at the top of the letter, it said, "For Christmas, I want." And then it listed a lot of stuff that I wanted. I don't know. I was like maybe 6 or 7, maybe 8. I was learning to write. And I showed it to one of my mom's friends. And she gave me this entire like lesson in morality about wanting. And more or less, at least this is the way I got it, was something along the lines of, well, that's, you want a lot of things. Maybe you should say it would be nice or I would like, rather than writing you want. And have you ever considered that if Santa gave you all these things, how many kids would have to go without a toy so that you could have all of that? And so I was shamed and felt guilty for my desires. So that's an example of that, like feeling called out, feeling humiliated, feeling shamed, or made to feel guilty for something that was pretty normal. Another example of that, which is kind of different, was I had this girl in school. Our mothers were friends, and sometimes our mothers would carpool and pick both of us up, and she hated me. She thought I was gross. She thought I was a dork. She didn't want to be seen with me. And she would, on occasion, get physically aggressive with me. And she'd be like, "I can't believe I have to share a car with this little shit." And she would like kick me or hit me or something like that kind of wound. Also, like I was just being myself, trying to be nice, trying to connect. It's not safe to be me. I didn't actually do anything to deserve this treatment. So if I didn't do anything to deserve this treatment, then it must not be safe for me to be me. So, and here's the thing. I don't know any child that does not have an example of that. I mean, I remember being kicked out of class one day for giving the wrong answer and sitting outside and crying because I didn't know what to do. We have all had instances where it felt like expressing ourselves, being ourselves, even existing did not feel safe. And so this leads to us hiding, not expressing our desires, our authentic self, our truth. It leads to us playing small, to wanting to be invisible so that we're not attracting any kind of negative attention. It can lead to a disengagement from life or downplaying who we are because we don't want to bring attention to ourselves, which include, and it's a little bit of a continuation of the unworthy, this can include downplaying your gifts, downplaying your results, downplaying your accomplishments because you don't want to trigger someone else and have them call you out or attack you because of jealousy or something like that. The main emotion here, as discussed, is mainly fear that you're going to be hurt. But there's also oftentimes an emotion here is embarrassment, but it's the fear of embarrassment. So fear is still the core emotion here. But fear of embarrassment, fear of humiliation, fear of judgment, of criticism, fear of being shamed or feeling guilt. In this wound, it's a really big one when it comes to entrepreneurship because so much of what we do is about self-expression. It's about owning our gifts. It's about willing to serve and put ourselves out there. So here you often find a lot of fear of success and fear of visibility in business. People who have this wound oftentimes will feel that if they are successful, people will turn on them, that everybody will want a piece of them, that people will want their money or will sue them or will call them out, or like there is a sense of like being visible or being big is dangerous. Calling attention to ourselves in any way is dangerous, which, let's be honest, when you're trying to grow a business, if calling attention to yourself is dangerous, that sure as hell is going to get in the way of you being able to create the income you want, to create the impact you want. So, some of the thoughts here is, what if I succeed? What's the cost of that? What if I fail? What will people say? What if they judge me, criticize me? What if they discover I'm a fraud or call me a fraud? What if I fall on my face? What if I'm sued? Like there's just a lot of what ifs of all the things that could go wrong and all the ways that people could turn on us. So that's number 5. It's not safe to be me. And the last one, number 6, is life is against me wound. I call it a little bit, or life is unfair or hard. So I think a lot of us have that just naturally, like a sense that it's going to take a lot of hard work to get to where we want to be. And oftentimes you can find this wound. There's, even as a child, like a sense of kind of black and white, pessimistic view of life. Similarly to it's not safe to be me wound, this one is almost more like it's not safe to be here. Like life doesn't have my back. This is not a safe world to be in. And so this is an extension of it's not safe to be me. And oftentimes you'll find people who are very sensitive or empathic have that sense that the world is a little scary. There's often something here around betrayal, having feel betrayed at some point in your past. There can even be unprocessed traumas. But overall, with this wound, we feel like shit's just hard. Nothing's quite working. Everything takes so much fucking effort. And like life doesn't want us to succeed. So some common emotions here is feeling frozen, feeling resentment, feeling unsupported and even alienated by life. Oftentimes here, there's unprocessed grief as well. Old betrayals, deep old traumas that have just been pushed aside. And there's a sense of feeling victimized and abandoned by life. So this is almost like that abandonment and rejection wound. It's another layer of that. But instead of it being people who have abandoned and rejected us, we feel like the entirety of life has abandoned and rejected us. Like maybe we should not even have been born. And so some of the thoughts, some of the ways that that shows up in business is making like complexity. Like you have to give a shit ton of your time, of your energy, of features to deserve to be paid. And oftentimes you're still undercharging, or a sense that nothing comes easy to me. And or a sense that, like it's going to take a lot of sacrifice and a lot of time and a lot of hard work to be successful. There is almost like an unconscious war with ease. Like it can't be that easy for me. Maybe it's that easy for them, but not for me. And so with this one, there's a lot of work in the nervous system around trust, reestablishing trust and safety, reestablishing feeling held and supported by life, and shifting our entire neurocircuitry and our entire biochemistry away from pressure and into ease and pleasure, and maybe even play. Like this vision of life. And by the way, like I said, I have all of them. I have that one too. People tend to be a little serious there. They don't know how to play that well. So even recalibrating the body to come into our business and to come into creating what we want from a place of play. When we are triggered, when we're worried, when we're disappointed, when we're stuck in some kind of old pattern of lack, of abandonment, of rejection, our ability to essentially be relaxed, be receptive, be regulated is compromised. Our ability to calibrate our body and our identity and to become a match for what it is that we want and to be able to show up powerfully from that place, all of that is shut down. Essentially, the flow is frozen. Both our internal flow of creativity, of clarity, of inspiration, of optimism, and also the external flow of us being able to take aligned actions, and the external flow of opportunities and receivership coming our way. So that is why it's so important to kind of figure out, okay, what are the wounds I have that are still haunting me, that are still influencing me? And they're literally like pulling the levers in the background without me even being aware of it. They're behind the curtain, kind of defining our reality, defining the way we think, defining our experience, the experience we are having of the world. I often will tell people if things feel hard or they feel like they're taking a lot of hard work to get result, that tells me more about your own inner circuitry and what's happening inside you than it tells me about what's going on in the world. Because for every person for whom it feels hard, there's someone else for whom it feels easy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of like take you on a little journey. Actually, that's not true. It's not a journey. I'm going to take you through the behind the scene of what I do with clients in my program, in the Quantum Expansion Experience, to essentially help my clients heal and release these old childhood wounds so that they can create massive growth in their lives and they can start to receive those next level results that they want in business and in income. So the first thing is always to start to restore safety in the body. And usually that's done through nervous system regulation work, providing the missing experience that they needed as a child so they can feel safe and so that they can feel whole and worthy. So when we're reestablishing safety in the body and we're providing ourselves with the missing experience that we needed, what happens is that we then start to shift our entire neurocircuitry, biology, biochemistry out of a sense of survive into thrive. So safety and providing that missing experience is first. And it's what allows my client to start to feel safe being themselves, to start to feel safe being big, to start to feel safe being seen in their bigness, to start to feel safe wanting what they want, going after what they want, and receiving and claiming what they want without apology, without feeling like they have to earn it or they have to prove themselves worthy or sacrifice for it. All of that is literally created through that first layer of work, which is all about safety. Then the next thing we do with, or I do with clients, is to increase their capacity to receive and hold more with ease and to start to shift their body to come back into a sense of aliveness with more and to prime their body for the results they want. And we do that through nervous system expansion work. The first part was all about regulation. This is about expansion, and through somatic wealth calibration work. So the second phase is about aliveness, spaciousness in the body. It's about increasing capacity and doing deep calibration work so that what we want starts to feel really safe, really yummy, and really normal in our bodies. And when the body, when you shift something in the body, it always percolates to other parts of us. So when you shift something in the body, you also start to shift your brain, and then you shift your identity, and then you shift your strategy, and then you shift your reality. So the body is really what holds everything. It holds both our wounds and like all the knots that bind us, but it also holds our potential and our potency and what is possible. Once we've really worked with the body, what we're doing in conjunction with that is we're starting to rewire their brain out of negativity bias and out of what I call neurological inertia, where we're so used to being our way, we're so used to the way we think, we're so used to the way we show up, the way we act, that it feels like us. It feels like our personality, it feels like who we are, but actually it's a form of inertia that's been created by repetition. And in some way, the more you repeat that, the more it literally starts to become who you are, even in terms of feeling through the biochemistry of your body. So at this point, we're starting to rewire the brain. We're moving out of negativity. We're moving out of that inertia. We're shifting both their perspective, their paradigm, and their biochemistry, the way they feel, and start to like feel themselves to be. And we're really elevating their paradigm and reality and stepping into infinite possibilities. And I usually mainly do this through the weekly guided practices that I give clients. And also I have 3 really powerful, every month we have 3 expansion experiments. And these are experiments to really start to shift your identity, your leadership, and how you show up in the world. And it really balances out the somatic and body work and the nervous system work that we do and start to bring that work out into the world. And then here's the thing, once you do all these three, so the combination of the three I just talked about, safety, capacity and calibration, and then elevating your perspective, your paradigm, your biochemistry, you start to put all these three together. And what you have is the perfect recipe for a powerful identity shift. And at that point, when all of this is put together, their power, their confidence, their sense of sovereignty, their sense of expectation that what they want is possible. And not only is it possible, it is inevitable, it is theirs. That starts to anchor, and their power becomes unbound in some way. And they start to operate and move in their life and in their business from this new sense of trust, of clarity, of certainty, of confidence. And then, so the last thing we focus on, once you have kind of like the body rewired and recalibrated and primed for what you want, you've got your brain, your biochemistry, and your paradigm that's been played with, and your identity starting to shift, and you're becoming a new version of you. The last thing my clients learn to do is essentially to allow their boundless body, this newfound sense of aliveness, of spaciousness within, to partner with them and to essentially partner with them as they start to take action in their business, in their life, in their self-expression, and in their wealth. So using the unearthed wisdom of their body and what they value most, like qualities like peace, like joy, like freedom, like ease, like simplicity, like you allow the wisdom of your body and what's most important to you to be your guide in how you design and lead your life, in how you build, grow, and run your business, and how you earn and multiply your money. This last piece is really important because it allows to take all the inner world out into the external world and to start taking action from this new level of identity, from this new level of regulation, from this new level of calibration. And what's really powerful is when you drop out of your left brain, always trying to figure out the how or the strategy from your left brain, which, by the way, if you have this kind of thing where you're always looking for like an answer, or you always feel like you're missing something, that's because you're trying to grow your business from your left brain. And usually our left brain is still very much anchored in these old wounds. But when you rewire your neurology and you expand your body and your internal capacity and you recalibrate yourself for the outcome you want, and you allow that boundlessness, that aliveness, that spaciousness inside you, that aliveness inside you to lead, you start to realize that the whole path forward becomes simplified and clear. When you realize that you are the most peaceful and powerful force in your life and in your business from the depths of your body and of your being, and you stop doubting yourself, second guessing yourself, and you start to allow a much fuller you to lead, and you allow play and freedom and desire and that aliveness to essentially be expressed through you in the actions you take and in the decisions you make. The how, the strategy, the path forward is literally revealed to you effortlessly. And I have in my somatic calibration protocol, there is an entire piece of that protocol where it's literally when you are really open, really relaxed, when you are feeling your body filled with aliveness and excitement and relaxation and peace with what you want to create, right in that moment, you like almost ask your body, what should I do next? What would be fun? How should I bring this aliveness out into the world, the spaciousness out into the world? And usually, especially when you get good at it, you will get very clear guidance on what to do next. And this is where things start to shift really quickly. And people are doubling, tripling, quadrupling their income, their fees. Things are suddenly working when before it wasn't working. They're doing less, but creating more results because they're really in alignment will from a place of complete safety, from a place of capacity, and they're literally working in partnership with the totality of who they are, including their bodies. So when you recalibrate all of you to be a match for the life and the expansion that you want and the income that feels really exciting to you, not just safe and dependable money, but stimulating and delightful money, then literally the strategy naturally emerges out of your boundless body, that space of aliveness and spaciousness inside that you cultivate. And the strategy basically figures itself out. And at that point, then your main job becomes to simply open, listen, receive, and respond. Open, relax, listen, receive what is being given, and then act, respond. This, my friend, is the neurology, the identity, and the strategy of expansion, both inner and income expansion. This is the beautiful, deep work that makes everything you have been working on or working towards finally work. And I would love to have you come play with us and see what we can create in this next year, in this new year. So, with that in mind, let me give you a little holiday fun. So, until December 18th, my program, the Quantum Expansion Experience, is at a totally amazing price. And what you can do is you can join now and you can have essentially multiple weeks of having access to all the content. I have a ton of content, practices, retreats, training, expansion experiments that are in the portal. Like 50, 100 hours plus of training that you can play with. And you get access to all of that early, and you actually start in January. So not only do you have immediate access to a whole bunch of stuff, but you're going to save a bunch of money. And the aim here is to double your income in 2025 with twice the ease and twice the free time, like the spaciousness. And we're going to do it from your aliveness, your boundlessness, the spaciousness of your body. And we're also going to do it in total alignment, in total partnership with your nervous system, with your brain, with your biochemistry. So the aim here is you can say goodbye to overwhelm, you can say goodbye to doubt, to lack of clarity and confusion and mind spinning, and you can say goodbye to self-doubt and self-sabotage. I think I said that already. Anyways, and self-sabotage, because you will get access to such a level of trust, of certainty, of confidence, and of clarity that you will know exactly what to do with what actions to take, what steps to take. So we're going to marry that nervous system expansion work with somatic wealth work and calibration, somatic calibration work. And we're going to take both of these kind of inner work protocols and mix them with simple strategies to allow you to expand with ease, with clarity, and with maximum freedom in your life and in your business. You'll receive a core curriculum, a new practice every week, expansion experiments every month to play with, multiple of them. And we have 3 mini retreats a month where we practice together and you get personalized mentorship and you get to ask questions and we get to tweak and figure out exactly how to unlock you and where to really anchor in your expansion. You get some one-on-one access to me, depending on which tier you pick. But even at the lowest tier, there is a 90-minute intensive that is included in there with me. And then there's also a VIP level that essentially where you and I meet one-on-one every single month. So if you're ready for a lot more in your life and in your business, this is a really robust program that is put together to really support recalibrating you for more and helping you increase your capacity so that you can totally shift your receiving reality. This is going to be especially useful for you if you feel at capacity, if you feel capped or confused on how to expand, both energetically, financially, strategically, then my body of work is going to be the answer to your prayers. I've been doing this for a long time, and it would be my pleasure and an honor to put my 20 years of experience as a psychotherapist, an expansion expert, a strategist to work for you and to be able to take you through the neurology, the identity, and the strategy of inner and income expansion. So if you're interested, I put a Google Doc together. It's nothing fancy. It's simple. It really gives you a sense of the philosophy. It tells you step by step exactly what's included in there. The prices are there. It's very clean and clear. I like transparency, and so that's what I'm putting forth. That the link to this Google Doc is in the description of this training. Just click it. You'll be able to enroll straight from the Google Doc if that's what you want. Or if you have questions, I give you my email address in there so that you can email me. Or even if you're not clear exactly which level is best for you, then we can have a quick chat to talk about it. All right, that's what I have for you. Next week, we're going to start unpacking how to free yourself from those wounds, how to reclaim your power, how to start feeling safe and supported and met so that you can rise, so that you can thrive. And then the week after, I will continue this process and take you into the process of providing yourself the missing experience, which is really the thing that will bring you from wounded to whole, from feeling small to feeling sovereign. All right. Mwah.